What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here, doing another album of the week. Although we haven't been very weekly with these, we're getting caught up on some that we were behind on. Today we're talking about the album Corsicana Lemonade by the band White Denim. I became aware of White Denim in 2011 when their album D came out. And I was also into their 2016 album Stiff a little bit. And somehow I totally missed this one in 2013, which was in between the two that I knew real well. And I was also surprised looking at their discography, how long they were around before D. This is like their fifth or sixth record or something. So yeah. And then they've got a few since Stiff that I've heard, typically like a 3.5 type of band for me. So I was curious to see if this was kind of in that realm as well. I kind of expected it to be, but also thought maybe like I haven't listened to them in a while, so maybe my opinions of all of these records might have improved or gotten worse. So yeah, was interested to check it out.
I believe I've heard this album before. I know Stiff. That was the first album I heard from them in 2016 when I was listening to just everything. So I don't even remember how I came across them. Probably just read a review somewhere. I liked that one. I gave it 4 stars. I listened to D in 2011 for the Album of the Year series because I was searching for anything in 2011 that I liked. Didn't find much. D was a 3.5. And then Clay from the Discord, good old Clay, he's from Austin, and we were talking about Austin bands, and I think he brought them up, and he may have even played one of these tracks from Corsicana Lemonade in the Discord at some point, or suggested, or I posted a link. So I had heard it, but not for I don't know a year or so, and it didn't make a huge impact when I heard it, but maybe different this time. So I am kind of familiar with White Denim. They kind of fell off after Stiff. I don't know if I ever listened to their 2018, and they had a like a collaborative album in 2023, but they haven't done much in a while. So I don't really think about them that much. But
I think they
uh,
got a new one in December on the way.
okay, well, everything I've heard from them, I've liked, but I haven't been like head over heels over anything I've heard.
That's kind of where I am. Yeah. Okay, so going into the songwriting on this record, I think the lyrics are pretty inconsequential. I gave them a quick look over, a little read, but yeah, not great lyrics, but at the same time, I don't think they jump out at you as bad. Like within the context of the songs and the melodies, they're just kind of placeholders for melody. So I think they're fine. I think there's some cool riffage on these songs. And the songs often take like really interesting twists and turns. There's almost like a proggy-ness to them. Structurally, I think they do a good job of like kind of keeping the listener on their toes and like always kind of shifting. So yeah, a little proggy, a little jammy, kind of bluesy, kind of classic rock influence, kind of like 2010s indie rock influence as well. It's a rock record. Songwriting isn't I don't think the main focus here. It's more about the jams.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I didn't remember them being this twisty on their later or earlier albums. So kind of caught me by surprise. Yeah, it kind of sounds like the Black Keys if they were more interesting. Like it's got that sound to it. But whereas, the Black Keys kind of hit you over and over again with the same kind of, riffs and just sort of like, oh, this is retro. Um, this album really kind of takes you places that you wouldn't expect. Kind of starts off with that like, oh, here's retro rock from the early 2010s, here we go again. And then it just like goes off in these weird directions. There's some psychedelic sounding stuff. There's some like early Steely Dan sounding things. There's the garage rock of the Black Keys. There's some a little like jazzy stuff. There's some like southern rock influences in there. I don't think the lyrics really matter at all, even a little bit, but I think the melodies are all pretty catchy. And, despite them kind of shuffling you off in these weird directions, I think pretty much all of the songs have good melodies and catchiness. and they're not just about, windy guitar passages and interesting guitar textures. And they seem to unfold in ways that make sense and not just like, hey, here's a completely different part that comes out of nowhere. Like it works, I think, all the twistiness.
The musicianship. So yeah, it kind of leads into like you can't really do all that twisty stuff well without being good musicians. I think they write really cool, interesting guitar parts. The rhythm section is really tight and like holds things down through all the twistier bits, so it kind of holds it all together. The weakness for me, performance-wise, is the vocals. At times, he is such a Dan Auerbach clone. He sounds so much like him, way more than I remember. Um, I listening to them in the past, I don't think that ever crossed my mind. Maybe it's more pronounced on this record, but all I could hear listening to this was Dan Auerbach and a little touch of Ruben from Unknown Mortal Orchestra. I hear a bit of that in the vocals as well. That's the thing, really. I think if they had like a really unique, interesting, different kind of singer, uh, I think this could feel a lot more special, but with those vocals, I think it feels like a lot of other stuff. So, for me, the voice is the drawback, but all the instrumental playing is really good.
Yeah, I definitely hear that Auerbach sound, and I also don't remember it being like that at all on Stiff or D. So I don't remember it like that coming through so much, but yeah, it's definitely too like close to be like a coincidence, especially for 2013 when they were kind of just blowing up. But the musicianship is great. The acoustic guitar playing on Corsicana Lemonade, the title track is great. There's some cool like electric violin sounding leads. I think it's just doubled guitar, but some really cool tones and textures that it just sounds great. The coiled blues guitar playing is really tight. I think the bass playing is great throughout. Some cool lines in there, great drums, good rhythm section. New Blue Feeling has some, they do kind of like these jazzy, weird guitar parts, but they do it like under the guise of a bunch of fuzz and roughness. So it's not like that clean, like jazzy stuff. It's a little more interesting, a little more garage, but I think that's kind of a cool um, mix of styles there. And they do a little like country stuff too on Comeback, um, a little Southern rock as well. So I think it's a cool mix of styles, and I think they're all just really good players. And no matter what they do, I think it sounds pretty darn good.
Production, kind of like we've already said, it sounds like Black Keys meets like the earlier Tame Impala records a little bit, and for a band with such retro influences, the production feels very of its time. Like you would never listen to this and think it actually was a 70s record. The sounds and like what they're composing feels very like of the 70s, but the way it's mixed and the way it's produced and some of the effects on the guitar and stuff is way more modern than you would hear on a 70s record. It's very 2010s indie, and I don't really know how I feel about it. It's like I can't say it's poorly produced. It sounds good, and it's probably the sound they were going for. I just think it's all pretty played out, and I don't know, not the most interesting sound to me. So, uh, yeah, it's what it is. It's fine.
Well, I'm surprised to not hear you mention Jeff Tweedy's name, who
Wasn't aware.
produced, yeah, produced two of the songs, the slower ones, interestingly enough. The other ones were produced by Jim Valentine, who mostly it seems like was a mixer and an engineer on a bunch of stuff. And you will notice by the Trail of the Dead, Old 97s, he mixed Michael Rolt's self-titled actually. Um,
Interesting.
but I didn't see a lot of production credits under his name because I was looking, trying to figure out where the sound was coming from. So I don't know why he got the production on this and why Jeff Tweedy was involved on two tracks. But I think mostly I agree with you. It sounds good. I think everything's produced well. but it's not like a really interesting sounding production style. And I don't know, 2013, I'm trying to think back, like I think this production style was already sort of either right in vogue or already sort of like being like out of date by 2013, no longer in vogue. So and I don't recall them sounding like this on Stiff either. So maybe it was just like a one-off kind of, we want to sound, like the Black Keys, and they kind of do. So that was what they were going for. Good on them.
Best track, worst track. I'm interested now if it's the Tweety tune that I picked for best. I have New Blue Feeling as my favorite.
New Feeling. Is that, what does that one sound like? That might have been
It,
the one he
it's
produced.
kind of a little melodic and poppier than the rest, not quite as Black Keysy.
Did I write down what he produced? No, he actually produced Distant Relatives and A Place to Start were the two Tweety tracks. Everything else, Jim Valentine.
Interesting. So that's my pick for favorite, New Blue Feeling, and worst I have Pretty Green, which I think is just too straightforward, too Black Keysy. That's like the most Black Keysy, the most straightforward, and I think the less straightforward they are, the better. The more weird and out there they get, the better the songs.
Yeah, I have Corsicana Lemonade and New Blue Feeling as my winners. Worst song, nothing really stood out as worst. I think A Place to Start maybe is a little too sleepy for a final track. I want something a little more epic, but nothing bad on here for me.
All right, so final score on this. I was at first listen, I was leaning 3 stars on it. I wasn't that high on it, but going back and like taking some notes and thinking about it more, I'm going up to like a light 3.5 on it.
I think I'm at either a really high 3.5, or I'll probably go 4 for it. Just a light 4. Nothing like super standoutish, but thinking back to 2013, this is probably better than most of the albums I've heard from that year. So I think it's good enough for the 4-star mark. I might listen to this again.
All right, well, if you've heard it, let us know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one.